everyone, and welcome to another episode of Single Dads Unplugged Network Season 2. And today we have an amazing woman in the house who will be discussing with us issues that surround dads, single dads, around legal issues. So you are welcome, Nothemba.
Thank you very much for having me, Nicky.
Please, can you introduce us yourself to the audience, and so that we can get to know a little bit who you are before you share your insights with us. Thank you.
As you know, my name is Nothemba Dlali. My surname is Dlali. I am an attorney. However, I also am a legal advisor. So I sit here as a legal advisor. I have had extensive working experience, and I started studying law at quite a late age in my life, in my mid-50s. I knew I was going to retire one day, so I wanted to stop working and start doing what God has asked me to do.
Oh my God, that's interesting. What inspired you to start, getting into a law career at 50?
I knew one day I was going to retire. I also wanted to do something meaningful at my retirement.
Right.
Everybody, that retires wants to help the elderly. They want to take them to the clinic, cook for them and everything. I just thought I could add value in a different manner, in the legal manner, I could add value to those women and children and men even,
right, that
find themselves in legal legal issues that they do not know how to get out of because they cannot access our legal system.
Wow.
Or rather easily, perhaps.
That's really fascinating. I mean, the way you put it, to get into that career at such a late age, because so many people aspire such careers in their young age, when they're young, but you getting into it at a very mid years,
Yeah.
So it's quite amazing. Yeah. Why law? Why didn't you choose something else that could still impact,
No, as I said, law, because it's something that I had wished to do all my life.
Oh.
But also law because I felt there is a lot that is left to be desired in the legal field.
Right.
I am not one that's going to solve all those problems. Okay. However, I am looking at a place where I can make a difference.
Absolutely.
I can make a difference. I remember when I was doing matric, I read a story. It was one of those short stories. It was called The Masterpiece, where an unrecognized artist was doing his best to be recognized and was never recognized. Until one day, a very ill person that was seated in the same position every time was asked, what is it that would make you feel better? And this person said, if I can see one leaf fall off a tree. So this artist was asked to draw a leaf on the wall.
Right.
And he did draw that leaf on the wall. This person was so fascinated that eventually he got better. But as soon as he had finished that, the artist died. So that was his masterpiece.
Oh my God.
So, if I make a difference, even if in one person's life,
right,
I will die very happy when I eventually do. Oh my God,
that's amazing. So who are the typical clients that you have?
At the moment, I have a number of clients. I take on a number of issues, depending on what is at hand at the time.
Right.
Yeah. So I will specialize with time, but right now I still take, issues as they come.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as you have been in this field, what are some of the challenges, that you've realized that specifically men have when it comes to custody?
Men are, if I may put it this way, men tend to be in trouble because nobody believes them. Nobody believes them when they talk about the pain they feel in relationships, in how they struggle sometimes to have a relationship with their children due to a number of issues between themselves and perhaps the women that they have children with, whether it was outside, in a marriage or outside of a marriage. So that's one of the struggles that you find a lot is happening. So they then tend to bottle up and not say anything.
Because what's the point of saying something if no one will believe you anyway?
Or even laugh at you.
Right. So what do you think maybe people can do to be able to make that safe space for men, even as a society or in terms of law?
Yeah. From a legal perspective, men have as equal rights as women do.
Right.
The first recourse for a man, really, is to use available government resources, such as the family law, or rather the family court. Mm-hmm. You approach the family court with your problem or with your issue, then they will be able to advise you what to do. Further than that, there are children's courts that you can approach.
Right.
Further than that, there are, family advocates also that can assist you. For instance, with issues of custodieship or of visitation rights. The state advocate is there to be able to help you to draw a plan that will be amicable for the both of you, that will work for the both of you. But let's take a step back.
Right.
Remember, the child is of primary or paramount interest in this whole thing. So whatever you do, you have to remember that it's not really about you. It is about the best interest of the child, which is paramount at all times.
Absolutely.
So when you approach the family court, when you approach the children's court, even when you approach a private person, or rather a private attorney, legal person to assist you,
right,
do remember that it is about the best interest of the child.
Absolutely.
That we move and then we take whatever direction we take.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Do you think there is equality practice in the legal system?
Equality, our law is very clear on that one from the Constitution.
Right.
The Constitution says we are all equal,
right,
before the law. And then obviously the different legislations will come in as well, but they cannot be in contradiction to the Constitution.
Right.
So yes, we are equal in front of the law. However, how that pans out as we go is another issue, because remember, situations change. And when situations change, sometimes what seemed equal earlier on may find itself not being so equal as time goes on.
Right.
If we get into an agreement now that I'm going to be paying an X amount of money per month, and things don't go well for me, I'm no longer equal.
Right.
I'm no longer at the same space. However, I cannot just sit and do and say nothing about it.
Right.
I have to go back to the courts and say, this is my new situation, therefore.
That is one aspect of it. When I asked in regards to equality, I'm really looking at how the court system or the legal system usually defaults to favoring women in a way, favoring us women in a way when it comes to these legal battles, and not giving so much of attention or paying too much whatever is going on in the lives of men, like you mentioned earlier, right? Like that nobody gets to believe them. So in that sense of equality, what can be done from the legal perspective to be able to listen to men, or at least give as much attention to men or single dads as they do to single moms?
Everything in courts is based on evidence.
Right.
Everything is based on what you present to them. If what you present to them talks to the best interest of the child, then the courts will listen to you, and the courts will give you what you deserve. We also do know that there are a lot of men that struggle to even have a relationship or see their children, just because they're no longer working, just because their situation has changed, or something like that. The court's duty is to make sure that there is equality. I will go back to saying the court's duty is to make sure that the best interest of the child is paramount, and therefore is ahead of every other decision that is going to be taken.
Absolutely. This sounds a bit funny to say it, but in some instances, sometimes the only evidence that is taken into consideration are a woman's tears. Once a woman's cry, or when a woman is crying, it's like, okay, if she's really crying, then it means he did it.
Not anymore. Not anymore. People are manipulative.
Exactly,
generally.
right?
Even men can cry if they want to. They just scared they might be laughed at, you know?
Right.
Yeah, but not anymore. You can kick, scream,
Right.
and do anything you want to do.
Right.
The court has to make sure that any and everything it decides is in the best interest of the child.
Wow, that's good to hear. I'm happy to hear that. So from a legal perspective, in terms of financial responsibilities, what type of financial responsibilities do single dads or fathers normally have towards their children?
Actually, the both parents have a duty to maintain their children.
Right.
They have a duty to maintain their children, number one, in terms of their affordability, how much they can afford to,
Right.
but also their lifestyle. You give your child what you are getting as well. So whether you are the man or whether you are the father or you are the mother, you have an obligation to maintain your child according to your standard of living. So if it is the mother that is earning more, the court will decide.
Okay.
You know, if it is the father, the court also will decide based on that. Your lifestyle is the lifestyle your child must have.
That's interesting to know. And so for parents or for dads that really don't have that means, what is in place for that?
If you do not have it, you do not have it.
Are they still allowed to have access to their children if they don't have the financial resources?
They must have access to their children, even though in a number of cases,
Right.
that is what is used to stop to stop fathers from seeing their mothers.
Right.
However, they have the right to see their children, because let's take this scenario. You are a very good father, but you are unemployed. You could be imparting so many good values to your child,
Right.
but you are unemployed. You could be building your child, but you cannot because you are unemployed. Where is fairness there? Because definitely not for the child.
Absolutely.
It definitely is not fairness to the child.
Because children needs more than money to be able to function properly, right?
So really, a reasonable person would be able to say, okay, he doesn't have money, but he does have the time to spend with his child, to build that relationship with the child. And I think even outside of the legal space, it is only fair for a mother to then say, okay, less about me, more about the child, let it be this way.
So are there cases where, or does the law have anything to do when a woman decides, the mother of the child decides, okay, because you're not able to provide these financial resources towards the child, you will not have access to the child? What does the law says about that?
The law is there. The law is about the best interest of the child. Whether you have resources or not, it is fair for a child to know both parents. First of all, first prize is for a child to be raised by both parents.
Right.
But where they are no longer together, it is fair for the child to be able to have a relationship with both parents.
Right. I know that sometimes these things sound so good on paper, right? But to translate into practical issues that we see in a practical sense, it doesn't always happen. So when a woman decides that this man is not providing for my child the way I want him to provide, and therefore he is not going to have access to the children, does the law step in at that point?
Yes, this is where you go to the family court. This is where you approach the family court. This is where you approach any other resource that the state has provided for you to be able to, as a man, to be able to access your child.
Okay. So there's a legal framework in place for co-parenting per se.
Absolutely.
That's what you're
Absolutely.
saying. What does it
Actually,
look like in practice?
That is where the family advocate comes in.
Okay.
The role of the family advocate is to sit down with the both of you and draw a plan, a co-parenting plan with visitation rights and all of that. Yeah.
You know, like I asked earlier, does the law come in when the woman decides that because the man is not providing financially, he is no longer having access to the children? Does the law step in at that point?
Yes, the law is stepping in at that point because, like I keep saying, the best interest of the child is what is important.
Right.
That's what the law looks for in this case. You then approach those resources that the state has put in place, your family court, and remember, there is the state advocate as well.
Right.
Not state advocate. There is the family advocate who will then sit and draw up a co-parenting plan that includes visitation rights and all of that. But yes, there are resources of the state that are looking at that fully, using the law, of course, to say to you, with things as they are, this is the best manner in which it can be done.
Is there any support system within the legal framework for single dads?
Not necessarily. Remember, we're now equal.
Right.
As men and as women. So there isn't anything specific for single dads, but there are a number of NGOs and NPOs, rather NPOs that men can approach, where to be able to exhale, to be able to get advice as well. But also you are allowed to you can go to a private legal person who can then assist you.
Oh, okay. What last thoughts would you leave with the audience, in regard to this topic?
Yeah, first of all, I would like to say thank you to those men that are in the lives of their children, with or without resources. Those that are trying very hard to build their children. When lots of men decide to just leave their children and go on with their lives, thanks to them. But also, please know always that the law is on your side. Whether you are the father or the mother, the law is on your side. Approach the family court for your children and about your children. And remember, the High Court has custody over children. So if the lower courts can't help you, the High Court will take over and they will know what to do with the child.
That's great. What message do you have for women who use children as some sort of a weapon, against their dads, in case of refusing him assets because he didn't give money or something?
It is a sad day, really. When people do that, it really is sad, because you are fighting your battles using a child who has nothing to do with anything, depriving this child of what could have been a very good relationship, a build-up to a normal and very well-developed adult, So, that's all I can say, that if we can, please, let's stay away from that. Let's rather make sure that our children have a balanced life of a mother and a father, even though they may not be living together.
Right. And in closing, what are your last thoughts for those specific group of men that only throw money at children and they think that is parenting? Those single dads that they say, if they ask me for money, okay, here's the money, leave me alone.
They're making a big mistake. Those people or those men are making a big mistake.
Right.
A child is not about money. Remember, a child comes into this world having no concept of money.
Right.
You teach a child money.
Right.
And then you always have to remember that in a child's life, that doesn't matter until you make it important. A child needs you.
Right.
Needs to be touched and felt.
Hugged.
Yes.
That's awesome.
That's all a child needs.
Wow. Thank you so much, Nothemba, for coming. You have been very insightful in sharing your thoughts, within the legal framework. Thank you so much.
Thank you.